So, ladies and gentlemen, Kai Cenat had an interesting event called Streamer University that started a few days ago. Where, needless to say, I don't even have to explain it. I'm sure if you're on the internet, you saw what happened. It was a very interesting event. A bunch of stuff happened, more stuff than I can cover. But either way, it was a big deal, especially amongst Gen Z. And like many things that become a big deal, that become very interesting, that become like big moments, inevitably people do steal it. They do run off with the idea. They do try to flip the idea as if it was their own. And this happened very quickly, or relatively quickly, with producer Digitalnas, who had become somewhat popular recently due to him streaming with Kanye West, streaming himself, recording music with Kanye West. And what he was trying to do was not a bad idea. It was an interesting idea. He was basically trying to create that same sort of scenario, but instead of streamer university, it was more about producers. He was calling it producer university, basically like a just live streaming, like a writing camp where they were going to invite a bunch of producers to just cook and live stream 24/7. Allegedly, there were some very respectable producers who may have made appearances and become like the equivalent of professors for these universities. And then also there was people alleging that bigger artists were gonna hop in and out of the streams as well, pop, make guest appearances, make cameos to come in, drop, make some songs and then dip. But the fact that he wanted to do this, I don't think was a big deal at all. Like, it was, it's a cool idea. Something, as soon as the whole streamer university scenario started to blow up with Kai Cenat, I was thinking about this same idea too. Like, hey, what if somebody did do this for music? Would it actually work? Would artists and their egos actually allow for something like this to be able to even be possible? But Digital Nas tried to jump on this, and people started to really push back against him, started to kind of clown him or call him out a bit. And in my opinion, the reason they were calling him out was because he was clearly trying to coin it as if it was his own thing. Like, at least that's the way I interpreted it, just because of the fact that when you read his Twitter posts, when you read his tweets, he kept repeating producer university over and over in a certain way that made it seem almost as if he was trying to coin this. And that naturally is going to make people get rubbed the wrong way, because they're looking at it and they're saying, well, why are you trying to run off with this as if this was your original idea? Now, he defended himself by making a very solid point. The point he was making was basically, people flip ideas and concepts all the time. For whatever reason, he decided to use fashion as an example of like fashion labels flipping designs, which, yeah, that does happen. Like, there is a point there, but the fashion angle, I think, was just an unnecessary way to prove your point. I don't know why he didn't use streamers as a way to prove his point. Maybe he doesn't pay streamers much attention, even though he himself has become a fairly popular streamer. But all he had to do was just simply point out the fact that a lot of streamers will steal content, or they'll flip or steal, whatever you want to call it. They will borrow content ideas for their streams. For example, one thing you'll see a lot of like streamers and YouTubers, they'll do this idea where, and I've seen this a lot over the past like year or so, where they'll do this idea where they'll create like this fake version of like a jail, and then they'll live stream for several days at a time them in jail. There've been several streamers and YouTubers who have done that idea, who have redone that idea. But again, the fact that Digital Nas was trying to run off with the idea, and he was wording his statement as it in a way as if he was trying to coin the phrase, number one. And then number two, he didn't shout out Kai Cenat, which is something he easily could have done. But still, nonetheless, instead of him just trying to clean it up and just show love to Kai Cenat, he instead took it a step further and kind of crashed out a bit. Not really, but it was a very odd decision where he started to take jabs at Kai Cenat and the whole concept of streamer university by saying, oh, he literally called it corny, which, I'd take anybody who says corny. I don't take them too seriously, because corny is subjective. The whole concept, I'm not a big fan of it, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, he called streaming university corny and said that his exact words were, "Oh, what I'm trying to do is not gonna be corny. It's gonna be fly and cool." Which, bro, I don't know who in 2025 says fly and cool. Like that was a very weird sentence. That was a boomer sentence, if I'm being honest with you. That's something I would expect out of a boomer. I don't know how old Digitalnas is, but uh, if he thinks he's fly and cool, listen, I'm not somebody to judge who's fly and cool, and I'm not somebody to judge who's fly and cool and who's not fly and cool, but uh, that's a cringe. That sentence is cringeworthy in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, he says he continued by saying, by the time he finally shouted out Kai Cenat, he said, "Okay, no disrespect to Kai, but streamer university was boring, and what I'm about to do is not going to be boring." And I'm like, now you're just making it easier for people to root against you and root against this concept, because why are you continuously trying to take digs at this guy and his idea, and then you have the audacity to still try to steal it? Like, you're calling his idea, you're calling the streaming university boring and corny and lame and all of this stuff, but you're trying to steal that core that's allegedly that corny, lame thing that you think it is, that boring thing that you think it is. You're still trying to steal it. See, people do stuff like this all the time. It makes no sense to me. I've seen people do stuff like this all the time. They'll see you wearing a certain shirt or a certain pair of shoes or something. You'll be doing something, whether it's a clothing choice, or whether it's uh, a, a music style, or whether it's anything in life. You'll be doing a certain thing. You'll have people that they'll hate on you, crack these jokes, take digs at you, but then they'll turn around and they'll do the same thing. They will turn around and steal your whole wave. How you gonna call a wave boring, but you're still trying to ride the wave? I don't understand it. Either way, I think he shot himself in the foot significantly. He's clearly trying to antagonize Kai Cenat and his fan base to get a reaction and get this to go viral, and maybe get Kai to do a reaction on his stream. But at the end of the day, in the long run, I think he would have been better off just trying to reach out from the jump with a more polite attitude, and just saying, "Hey, I really like what you were doing. I'm gonna try to bring that same concept to the music space." And who knows, maybe that way would have been a lot easier for Kai to wanna, and his fan base to wanna show love and get behind it, and maybe even do a reaction during one of his streams. Because this current approach he's taken, if I'm Kai or if I'm on Kai's team, there's no way I'm even bothering. I'm not even gonna bother to acknowledge this. For what? But either way, I think even though it's a good idea, I think because of the approach, like, I think he's really messing up the marketing angle of this idea, that this flip that he's trying to do. And I don't think a whole lot of people are going to be rooting for this, to be honest with you. And it is what it is. Let me know, did you know that this was going on? Were you a fan of Kai Cenat's Streamer University? Do you think that hip hop or the music industry as a whole, do you think that they would be able to do something similar? Because artists have massive egos. I know regular people have massive egos too, but artists, even producers, man, like, I've met so many producers who were divas, and they'll turn around and call rappers and singers divas too. But that's neither here nor there. I would have liked to see this. I would have liked to witness something like this, but I don't know if it'll happen now. But we'll see how it goes. Let me know what your thoughts are on the situation below.